Okay, so week 5 in CIT15 computer concepts. In this week, as I've probably said on every video so far, I'm running 2 weeks ahead of you. Okay. And what that means is I graded week 3 this morning. Again, I grade every day. A benefit of working ahead is if you miss something, right, you can do that. But I notice one area I'm not grading ahead, and I need to get better at this. We can all get better at stuff, is looking at your discussions. So, starting this week, which for you, this week is in week 4, week 4, which is looking at Wolfram Alpha, which will be interesting. So anyway, that's the piece I want to talk about. But what I did this morning after I read your discussions and your views on net neutrality and the information that was provided, the John Oliver, the Ajit Pai, is kind of a little bit of an update. There's a couple things that since that information has been released. One is that California and New York, I believe, maybe some other large markets actually implemented their own version of net neutrality. But because of what Ajit Pai did, other states did not. So it was a really mixed bag in the US, which caused its own amount of challenges. But we in California had benefited from that, our state implementing that. And so now we're at the place where we're transitioning between administrations. And I did some research to see who was going to replace Ajit Pai because he has said he's stepping down. And looks like there's a woman that possibly might get elevated, which is fun for me to see. But also, she's someone who believes very strongly in net neutrality. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with net neutrality in the coming year. And also, she is a strong believer on providing internet more broadly, broadband more broadly. So I am excited to see what's going to come out, but I also have to temper my, you know, just kind of go, okay, let's see what happens. Not that I completely believe it, because like all of us, I think it's like, show me that it actually can make a change. Because this, I would agree with you. Most of you totally supported net neutrality, which makes sense. Don't make me pay more for something just because it's a competition to you or for whatever reasons you want to regulate. Net neutrality has been just a part of my culture, because I've been on the net for so long that, I don't know, I should say I don't look that old, but okay. Anyway, I'm happy to see the conversation is still alive and well. Unfortunately, I wish it was just a national policy, so maybe it will soon be, because it is, I do believe it has been like a public utility for quite some time. Okay, so coming back now to week 5. It's kind of a fun discussion week about apps, show and tell. And, the thing I would say to you about this is, and you get to kind of do a little like, what's your favorite app? What's the thing you like? Remember, in writing, do not put numbers. I can't offer that just because I've said again and again, it's a narrative writing. Remember, this is college level writing, so make sure you're not just putting one and answering it. Write narrative, write a story concept. So I look for that in your writing. But here's the thing I want you to kind of in your head understand is like almost every app, and I say this with a little bit of hesitation, you'll see why in a minute, has been built by a coder, a programmer, a software engineer. These are just different jobs for a similar function, but somebody created code that and the result of that code is the app that you're using. And what's interesting here is the operating system that you're using is also true in this way. So Windows, Mac, Linux, your phone operating systems, these were all also created by this profession of somebody doing coding. So I always try to say, when you get frustrated in an app that maybe doesn't work sometimes the way you want it to, and there is a spectrum of apps, and some operate so well, like butter, but Some don't. Like I have one on my phone that I use for tracking my sleep, and it is so clunky. You can tell that the programmers who did this wasn't probably a core of them. It was just one, probably. There's an interesting story. I don't know if any of you ever heard the game Stardew Valley. It's a really fun game to play, but it was created by one programmer, one developer, created the concept, wrote all the code. Unusual. Usually it's a team of programmers that do that. Okay, so keep that in mind. We are in our last week of Word from the simulation, right? Hopefully you've been hearing, now I'm switching topics here, going into the My IT lab. So this is the last week we do a simulation training and exam. So next week will be our first lab test. So that is coming at you in week 6. Again, I think I said this last week, so it's a good point. It's like, okay, do you have Microsoft Word loaded on your system? Because next week's start here will be about the idea of just generally how does that, I'll give you an overview of how that works. But in general, you download some files, you work on them locally, you'll have a instruction set, and then when you're finished, you'll upload that into the My IT Lab system. And then if you get something wrong, you can fix it on that file. You don't have to start over and submit it again. You have up to 3 submissions. Okay, so that's heading at you next week. The thing I'm going to leave you with, and what I'd say here is I would love to hear about anything about this. Just hitting reply and saying thanks for the information is not what I'm looking for at this point. The important point, I want to see if you heard what I was talking about. But have you ever, and this would be a good thing to reply to, down here in Canvas, looked at the Student Support Hub? If not, I want you to do this. I want you to open it up. Now, by the way, one of the things I do is I open in a new tab. That way it keeps me where I'm at and allows me to move back and forth. So I want you to, have you ever looked at it? You can answer yes or no. And either way, I'd like you to go look at it. Look at what the campus has organized to give you some really important information about COVID-19, about student wellness, administration of records, counseling, employment, right? So I want you to go, this is not the point of this video, but I want you to go look at it. And let me know if you find that helpful. Did you find any helpful information in that, right? And also our campus does these virtual forums. I believe our president does them at least every 2 to 3 weeks. Have any of you watched those? If not, I'll provide some links to that stuff. It's basically, you can watch it up on YouTube. I know I've watched it on Facebook. So anyway, I'm curious more about the Student Support Hub, but any of that information. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. It is a beautiful day in California. The rain has come and gone. I heard it's coming back. So we always try to say thank you for the rain, and we've had an abundance of it, and it's just a matter of managing the rain that we are getting. So let's just know that happens perfectly. Have a great one. Peace out.